All right, so welcome everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening. It's another amazing evening for our weekly market review, weekly market outlook. All right, so tonight, as usual, we're going to be doing the usual things we do. I apologize because my original TradingView account seems to have been hacked during the week. All right, so I've been having trouble getting into my real account, but nonetheless, we're going to make do with this new account that I just had to create impromptu for this session. All right, so we're going to start like we usually do with the indices. All right, and I'm sure that one of the questions a lot of people are asking right about now is, what exactly is next for the US dollar? All right, what's next for the US dollar? And that's an interesting question. All right, one which I'm going to be answering right about now. All right, so those of you who are familiar with the liquidity concepts, you understand what we're looking at here. All right, so we may see price dip like this, maybe something along these lines. All right, okay, so the overall direction for DXY, as it were, all right, is bearish, all right, but nonetheless, the safest point of entry for the bearish movement would be from that actual zone, all right, that marked zone, somewhere around the 107.45, all right, or 107.5. All right, so somewhere around there is the most probable zone for the down move. All right, because I actually would expect liquidity to get taken out. All right, but nonetheless, there's a possibility that we get a reaction from all right, that's also a probable zone. But nonetheless, this is my high probability zone that I will personally be watching out for. Hopefully price gets there and then we can get this drop, all right, this downward drop on the dollar. All right, so what that means is since I said earlier in the group that we can expect some this week, there's actually going to be a whole lot of news releases for the dollar. All right, so we can expect that the possibility of one of such news releases pushing the dollar into the 107.5 zone is actually going to be quite high. All right, it's going to be quite high, so that from that zone we can actually perfect the drop that we need. All right, that drop can be completed. All right, and give us that swift move. Okay, and I think we can also corroborate that with what we have on the stochastics at the moment. We may see price maybe drop a little further, all right, before doing this, all right, but nonetheless, the overall direction remains bearish, all right. So that's my bias for the dollar index, all right. Up next, we're going to check the Australian dollar index, all right, the AXY. So let's start from the weekly time frame. All right, this is AUD on the weekly time frame. And we're seeing signs that price possibly wants to go higher. All right, on the daily time frame. All right, on the daily time frame, we're seeing the stocks look to be overbought already. All right, but nonetheless, I think I'll still prefer somewhere around here. All right, somewhere around here, which is around this gap area. Okay, and what that means is we could likely see price do something along this line. All right, maybe something along these lines. All right, so something along this line is my expectation from the Australian dollar. All right, from the daily time frame. So let's check on the 4 hours time frame quickly. All right, this just confirms that the possibility of that. All right, we have a divergence here, so we should see price think a little deeper. All right, and then from somewhere around here, we can start to expect prices to resume that upward flow. All right, so for the Australian dollar, we may see some temporary weakness. All right, maybe towards Wednesday, Thursday, we can now start to expect prices to recover. All right, to recover the bullish momentum. All right, the next one is BXY, which is the pound index. All right, so weekly time frame as usual. All right, let's see. All right, all right, so I think for AXY, somewhere around here, all right, somewhere around here would be the preference. All right, currently there's a divergence, there's a convergence on the daily, on the weekly. All right, confirmed also from the daily. Okay, so all right, but overall, that means on the pound we should see some bit of bullish reaction. All right, at least a little bit to recover ground into this area. All right, although it might want to drop a little bit first, but nonetheless, we should come into somewhere around this zone, then go back to recover strength from this other block. All right, from this other block. That's my own expectation. All right, because I would want to see prices dink deeper into this other block, way deeper. All right, maybe even to somewhere around the 115.58. All right, maybe even that far. Apologies about that. All right. Sorry about that. The internet is a little bit shitty. It's been raining, so I think that's also influencing what the network is looking like. All right. So for the dollar index, the pound index rather, the BXY. Okay, we're expecting some degree of strength at least over the next couple of days, 2-3 days, maybe even 4-5 days. All right. Till price comes into this zone, then we can start to anticipate some degree of bearishness. All right, so that we can come back into this zone. As you can see, there's already a kind of convergence cooking. All right, there's already a kind of convergence cooking around here. So when price gets here, all right, that divergence will be completed, that convergence will be completed, and then we can have something like this play out. All right, so that's for the pound. So we're expecting some strength from the pound. Next, let's look at the CAD index, the Canadian dollar index. All right, on the weekly time frame, the stochastics have indicated a convergence. All right, a convergence. Let's see what the daily time frame looks like. The daily time frame is also quite interesting, although I think we might see prices still head a little bit higher. All right, we might see prices still head a little bit higher. Maybe most likely into somewhere around here. All right, maybe somewhere like this, so that we can head lower. All right. So this is for Canadian dollar. All right, we might see some weakness on the Canadian dollar for a couple of days. All right, because basically what we're having here is a very, 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 very clear convergence. All right, it's a very clear convergence. Lower highs on price, higher highs on the stochastics. All right, so we can expect some degree of weakness from the Canadian dollar. Up next, we'll check the EXY, which is the Euro index. All right, and on the daily time frame, we can see that the euro is expected to get stronger. All right, the euro is expected to get stronger. All right, so based on what we have on the stochastics at the moment, I would say we can expect to see something along these lines. All right, so some temporal weakness and then a direct upsurge in the momentum of price. All right. All right. Something like this. All right, and then we can bounce higher. Okay. So for euro, we're also expecting some degree of strength, but maybe after a short period of bearishness. All right. So having said that, let's quickly check the majors. GBP USD. All right. So for GBP USD, I think the most reasonable direction for price at the moment is. Let me show you something quickly. So we've seen liquidity grabbed around here. All right, and then price has stepped into another block somewhere around here. All right, let me check on the 1 hour to show you that clearly. All right. So can you see that right here? So currently we've tapped into this liquidity grab area, and so can you see this? So price has also retested into this other block right here. This also seems like okay, let me use this. So something along these lines. All right. We may see a bit of liquidity grab into this zone. All right, or maybe even into somewhere around this side, somewhere along this area. All right. So maybe somewhere around 1.1 1.1917. All right, 1.197 or all right, either somewhere around there or we look towards 1.19522. All right, 1.19522. So basically for me, my entry is not going to be based on pending orders in this scenario, all right, because currently there are two options that are still very close to each other, all right. So the meaningful thing or the best course of action in this situation would be to wait for price to show me what exactly it has in store, all right, and that can only be made possible when I'm able to check the reaction of price around those other blocks. All right, when I'm able to check what price intends to do around those other blocks, then I can be able to categorically say that this is what to expect. All right, that's when I can explain what this is. Mr. Ifeanyi, sorry, this is not a training session. All right, I've done a lot of training videos in the Telegram group. All right, and even a few on the YouTube channel. You can go through them, and I'm sure that they would answer that question you're asking. All right, so we have two zones we're watching out for, 1.19519 and 1.19109. All right, so those are the two zones we're looking out for our liquidity grab. All right, for our entries, sorry, for entries. All right, so let's watch how price plays out this week on GBP USD. Okay, on GBP USD. Secondly, let's quickly look at Euro USD. All right, so this has been a clear breakout of this zone. All right. Now remember that because of the press releases or the news releases, all right, we might see some massive, crazy movements. All right, some crazy movements. So just to be on the safe side, all right. So maybe somewhere around here. All right, just to be on the safe side. So what I'm going to do is, because you can see also that you can see here that this was a break of structure. All right, this was a break of structure. There's another block here. All right. But it could also play out as a zone for liquidity grab. All right. So now remember that all of this is because of the press releases or the news releases that we're expecting this week. All right, because there's going to be quite a lot of them. All right. So we could see prices do something like this. All right, that will be option one. And then this could be option two. All right. So how exactly do we decipher which one is best for us? All right. All right. So this is how we decipher which one is best for us. Personally, what I do is I go to the lower time frames, then I refine based on the entry schematics that I have taught to my students. They know what entry schematics to expect. All right. So all right. So let's see what what happens around here. But let me give you a word of advice. Please do not set pending orders. All right. Moments where you're expecting volatility in the markets, pending orders can be deadly. All right. Pending orders can be deadly. What you want to do instead, all right, is to allow the volatility sweep out liquidities. All right. And then wherever the liquidities have been swept out, okay, you can go to the lower time frames and then find your own entry. All right. Please, if this makes sense to you, drop an emoji in the group. Let me know that you understand what I just explained. All right, beautiful. So please, I am begging you, do not set pending orders around these zones. Please do not. All right. You want to be very clear about your entry schematic before taking an entry. All right. So see what plays out. All right. Observe it. And then there are patterns that you follow on the lower time frames that tells you that, yes, this is ripe right now. Okay. So don't let impatience get the best of you. Calm down and let the market play out as it should. All right. The overall direction on Euro USD is still bullish, but it's important that we see some clear movements first. As you can see on Euro USD, there's liquidity around here. There's an imbalance right here. Okay. So I don't have a doubt about price coming back into somewhere around here. All right. I'm almost 100% certain that price would come back into this zone. But nonetheless, your entry is important. All right. So guys, chill. All right. Don't rush it. Let the market come to you. Let the market create an entry for you. Don't create an entry for yourself. All right. The next one is USD card. USD card could be a bit of a tough one because both commodities are not smiling at the moment. But as you can see, I think this was my analysis on USD card that I sent to one of my students during the week. All right, during one of our conversations. So this is what I'm looking out for on USD card. All right. The first zone is somewhere around here, 1.29724. All right, and the second zone is around 1.380. All right, 1.30080. All right, so we could see prices dink into those regions, all right, and then start to drop lower on USD card. Why would I say we're expecting prices to drop lower? As you can see, these are equal lows right here. All right, equal lows liquidity. And this is an imbalance, this is an imbalance, this is an imbalance. So all of these regions can also end up playing out as our targets for this sell trade. All right, as our targets for the sell trade. And if you check it from the daily time frame, you see that there's also that huge trend line right over there. All right, there's that huge trend line right over there. And we can expect prices to dink lower from that zone. All right. Okay, so right about now, you can start dropping the commodities you want us to take a look at. All right. So that we can just get into those right away. All right, let's quickly take a look at gold. This is the daily time frame. All right, equal lows liquidity. I think this has also been some sort of equal lows liquidity. Trend line liquidity. All right, we've also seen equal lows liquidity. All right, and price has come into this other block region. All right, somewhere around here. All right, but nonetheless, on the 4 hours time frame, I think all right, price has stepped into that that other block. All right, we've seen this happen out here. All right, so that increases the chances of prices reacting lower. There's also this here. All right, so we can expect this to form as a QML, as a bearish reversal QML. All right, so maybe something along these lines, all right, would make a lot more sense. Let me see on the 1 hour time frame. Sorry. All right, so that makes sense. That makes sense. There's an imbalance. We've not really seen any solid movements around there. So basically, the news releases could make prices dink a little bit lower into this zone. All right, into that zone. So on the dollar, on gold, all right, XAUUSD, I think I want to look out for somewhere around 1686. All right, 1686 is the zone that I will be watching on the gold currency, on the gold commodity. All right, so the next one is US30. All right, as requested by you guys. US30. Let's look at that quickly. All right, so as you can see, US30 has stepped into that other block region. All right, we've seen liquidity grabs, quite a few of them. Okay. All right, beautiful. All right, so let's see how this works out. All right, let's see how this plays out. This is also most likely going to play out like a kind of QML reversal. All right. All right, so this could play out as a kind of QML pattern as well. All right, so US30, I think 3651 is the zone that I will be watching on the dollar, on the US30 index. All right, US30 index. All right, somebody also requested US500. All right, please, if you can, I would appreciate if you can just take screenshots of this analysis, all right, so that you can drop it in the group, so that those who probably missed the session can easily go through it, all right. So if you're using a system, all right, so that the screenshot can be very clear. If you're on a laptop, please just take a screenshot by pressing Alt Print Screen, all right, Alt Print Screen, and then just press Control V into the chat box in the group, all right. It's going to paste the picture directly. The next one is US 500. Forex Empire, we already looked at USD card. Already looked at USD card. You can always go through the recording later on, all right, just to catch up on whatever it is that you missed. All right, as you can see, US 500, US 30, they are almost the same thing. The directional bias is usually aligned, all right, because they are all correlated against the dollar. All right, so the bias is still the same. Okay, the bias is still the same. Liquidity grab entries and stuff like that. Okay, so 3790.8. All right, that could be a zone to watch out for. All right, the next one, NAS 100. All right, Nasdaq. Okay. Price has gotten into this zone. price has come into this zone. All right. Currently, we've seen a couple of liquidity grabs. Let's just see on the Nasdaq. All right, something here, something along this line. All right. I'm sorry. All right, so something like this. All right. So Nasdaq 11749.40 would be a convenient entry point. All right, to look out for. All right. That does not mean that we may not get some fractional reactions, maybe from somewhere along this line. All right. From somewhere along that line, but nonetheless, I think the overall direction is still largely bullish. All right, it's still largely bullish. Any other commodities? Any other commodities? This is USD card for the person that requested it. Forex Empire. This is what USD card looks like. All right, 1.29724 is the entry that we've looked at. I think we also want to look at USDJPY. All right, US oil euro card. D Nixon, unless you have a very large bank account equity, all right, I wouldn't advise trading US oil as a result of the volatility of that commodity. Wow, did you hear that? Volatility of that commodity. Amazing. All right, so all right, so this is USDJPY. I think we want to watch out for somewhere around 131.653 or 130.814, 130.814. All right, 130.814. All right, let's quickly look at EUROCAD. GBP USD and Euro USD, we already looked at those. All right, so if you missed that, please kindly watch the recording. All right, so that you can catch up. All right, so let's see this other block without this reaction. We're coming in here. All right, let's see what the daily looks like. Okay, I think the bullish trend is more supported in this situation. It's a lot more likely. All right. So as you can see, this was a reaction from somewhere around the 764. Let me see. Yes. Yeah, from the 764. Okay. So currently, I think before I take a trade on Euro card, I will want to see. I'll be opting for something along this line because I think that on the weekly time frame we have quite some ground to cover. All right, so I think that's just pretty does it. All right, so Euro card, I think I would want to see prices go all the way to this point, or at least maybe somewhere around here. All right, at least. Okay, so I want to see a break of that entire structure. All right, once I see a break of this entire structure, then I can start to anticipate a real move. All right, I can start to anticipate a real move. But let's see what price has in store. Then we can be able to categorically say with confidence what it is that we're going to be seeing or expecting from Euro card. All right, but altogether, I think my bias is bullish. All right, altogether, the bias is very, very bullish. All right, very, very bullish. All right, so let us see what okay, AUD USD. All right, AUD USD liquidity grab, price has tapped into the other block. All right, price has tapped into the other block after this equal eyes liquidity here, coupled with the trend line liquidity from here. All right, we've also seen all of this equal eyes right here. All right, so let's see. For me, I think on AUD USD, all right, something along this line would make more sense. All right, something along this line would make a lot more sense. Okay, so that means that one of the areas I'll be looking out for entry would be 0.68145. 0.68145 would be the probable entry zone for AUD USD. All right, for AUD USD. Let's quickly move on to the next one. Somebody requested Euro AUD. Euro AUD. This is looking interesting. All right. All right, somewhere around here. All right, 1.48483. All right, 1.48483 for Euro AUD. All right, we could see some bearish continuation from there because as you can see on the daily time frame, we already had this. All right, so I think we could see some bearish continuation from that region. All right, or worst case scenario, which I don't think is very probable. All right, but worst case scenario would be that we come back up into this zone. All right. All right, that would be the worst case scenario that we could have. All right, at which point that would mean that we're looking at the market clearing out all of this as liquidity, all right, and then coming up into this zone before dropping lower. All right, and I'm simply saying that because I can see that there's been some potential areas of liquidity grab somewhere around here. All right, there's a potential area of liquidity grab here. There's also equal highs here around here, right? Equal highs. So price could possibly aim higher, all right? But nonetheless, what I would do is when price gets here, I want to see at least some tiny reaction, probably give me like 1:3, 1:5 kind of risk to reward trade, all right? Especially if by the time price gets here, all right, if this is already oversold like this, overbought like this, all right, that would mean that we have this convergence, all right, that would just solidify my entry criteria. All right, so that is for Euro AUD. All right, Euro AUD. All right, US oil. Let me see. Somebody asked about US oil. Like I said, don't forget, trading US oil on a small account is like signing one's death warrant by themselves. All right. But as I can see from here, I think US oil still has some bearish grounds to cover. I will not be giving entry points in this case, all right? But nonetheless, I'm just going to show you what to expect. All right, US oil, all right. So at least, even if US oil doesn't move at all, it should at least hit this zone. All right, and that's on the 4 hours time frame. On the lower time frame, if you are able to find some good entries in that line, all right, all the best. Okay. All right. So let's see how this turns out. Okay. But for me, I think US oil should still go lower a little bit. All right, should still go lower a little bit. GBP JPY, CAD JPY. All right, GBP JPY is an interesting one. But my fear in this situation is the fact that we have equal lows right here. All right, GBP JPY has equal lows around them. All right, so let's see what GBPJPY does around here or here. All right, personally, those would be my own areas of interest, all right, points of interest. So let's see how those play out. All right, for GBPJPY. All right, for GBPJPY, that's my directional bias. CAD JPY, let's quickly look at that. All right, CAD JPY, this is a beautiful one. Um, all right, we have equal lows around here, so it just makes sense to expect some liquidity grab around that side, that area. All right, so let's see what price does into this level. But nonetheless, I think that this is the most reasonable expectation. All right, that's the most logical expectation. All right. So we can see price coming to either of these zones. All right, any of these zones, and then drop. All right. So for me, that's CAD JPY. Let's quickly go on to the next one. BTC USD, crypto traders. All right. I think the last session we had, I gave a bias on BTC USD. I'm not sure if it's here or if it was on the training group. But I think that at the moment, BTC USD can be a tricky commodity to trade. All right. And that's because with all the press releases concerning the dollar, all right, BTC USD cannot but be affected. All right. And the reason why is this: the monies that come into the crypto markets are coming from the fiat market. All right. It is fiat that people convert into crypto, not sweat, not not sleep time, not any stuff like that. All right. It's hard-earned cash that is converted into crypto. All right. And as a result of that, it just makes sense to expect that whatever is going to affect the flow of cash, all right, should also affect the flow of cryptos. All right. So BTC USD, there's a lot to look out for. We could see this. All right, we could see that. And on the alternative end, we could also see this. All right, for BTC USD. All right, let's quickly look at the next one, ETH USD. All right. ETH USD is at an interesting zone. It's at a very interesting zone because, as you can see, we've broken into this area, and then we've had this slight tap. All right, this slight break of structure. So we could see price come back into this area. All right, after taking out all of this liquidity. All right, and that would mean that we see prices do something along this line. All right, something like this. Okay, so that's my bias on ETH USD. All right, so those are the possible targets for ETH USD. I think maybe we may also have this. All right, considering the slight break of structure that we had around there. Okay, so let's see what this gives birth to. All right, let's see what that gives birth to. Possibly from somewhere around here, we could start booking profits, or at least putting our trades on break even. All right. So the next one, which is the second to the last for tonight, is NZD card. All right. So we could see more liquidity grab around that zone. All right. So NZD card probably somewhere around 0.81220. All right, 0.81220. All right, 0.81220. That would be a meaningful area to look out for, sales, and we could be heading into somewhere around. We could be headed into somewhere around 0.79532. All right, somewhere along that line. Let me see. All right, that's about 170 pips. All right, so let's see how that plays out. AUDCHF, which is the last one for tonight. Okay. All right. So something along that line. AUD CHF 0.67266 would be a nice nice spot. All right. So let's see how that plays out. This is about 190 pips. All right, about 190 pips. All right, so that's AUD CHF. All right, let's see how all of this play out this week. All right, remember all of these setups. Check out for entry schematics before you trade them. All right,